Hello, and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name's Dan, and I missed you guys. It's been a while since I did a little stream, so I thought we'll definitely need to do one today. I know I usually do a strategy stream after the Monday night game, but there is not a Monday night game this week because there is no football this weekend, and even last week there was no Monday game, but good to be back. I feel like it is definitely time to start having our brains firmly focused on FPL once more. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be having a little chat. I've got a few things I want to go through today, and then we're going to maybe just do an open Q&A at the end of the video. So just quickly, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about Heung-min Son. Is he a must-buy? Must we buy him? He's obviously done very well last week, scored a hat-trick playing up front for Spurs. We need to talk about him. Do we need to get him? How do we get him in? Who do we sell? What is the situation there? I want to talk about Manchester United, the situation there, because it's a little bit messy. I feel like that is an understatement, everything that's going on at Manchester United right now, so maybe we need to talk about it in FPL terms. I want to have a look at the best forwards as well. A lot of people transferring out forwards this week, and maybe I want to talk about who to bring in instead, because there's definitely some really nice forward options I actually quite would like to talk about with you guys. I want to talk a little bit about Liverpool players as well. I know a few of you guys are eyeing up Liverpool and seeing if you can get involved in their players with the good fixtures that are coming up. And also, I have an updated wildcard draft. So those of you guys on a wildcard, obviously I made a wildcard draft video around a week ago, but now I've updated it, and hopefully it's going to look pretty good for you guys, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you later on in today's stream/video. So, looking forward to chatting about everything with you guys. Let's get started straight away. Quick hello to everyone before we do that, I guess. We've got Block City FC is here. Jeremy Baker is here. What's up, my friend? A few people saying FPL late. Yeah, we were a little bit late starting today. Apologies. Hello, Paul Roberts as well. Any other members, if you're in the chat, let me know, and I'll give you a quick hello. Right. Heung-min Son. Let's talk about this man. Let's talk about this man. So, I put out this tweet a couple of days ago. We got a post, an X post. I don't know what we're calling it these days. I'm lagging behind a little bit in terms of what we should actually be calling these posts, but I did put one out. And basically, it was off the back of a tweet I put like a day or two prior to this one, where I basically said, yes, Son is a great pick. Like, it's not. I don't think this is a knee-jerk transfer at all. I really like this pick. You know, he's going to be playing as a central striker, for a really, really attacking team, and he's going to get results in some really nice fixtures as well. And I don't think it's a knee-jerk because I know that we've seen so much of Son that he can be incredible. He's going to be potentially on penalties, and there was just so many factors. I was kind of, in many ways, trying to compare this to the Sterling potential knee-jerk there, and how it's not the same situation, because with Sterling in game week 2, you're going to get the same Sterling from game week 2 that you were going to get in game week 3 and game week 4. You know, it's this kind of same player in the same position, and a lot of people saw game week 3, got Sterling in game week 4, obviously didn't really get the points in game week 4. That's an understatement. He got no points, but he still looks okay. But a lot of people were kind of discussing, all right, that was a knee-jerk. Sterling did very, very well in game week 3. Everyone brought him in, and he disappointed. Was that just a knee-jerk transfer based on the points from that one game? And that's still up in the air a little bit. I do feel like that is still up in the air. Like, you guys can debate about the Sterling pick as much as you like. But what I wanted to say was that I don't think Son is the same. Because Son, you're not buying the same player. Like, we're not buying Son from game week 1 and game week 2. I mean, let's go through, let's bring up a Fantasy Premier League tab real quick here. I'm not even logged in. Let's log in and find Son. Okay, just looking for his point scores, and this is why I think some people are calling Son a knee-jerk, because 2 points against Brentford, 3 points against Manchester United, 3 points against Bournemouth. So 3 low-scoring games. You know, his numbers were not good either. Like, you can look at his XG and XA in game weeks 1, 2, and 3. It wasn't good. So when you look at this on the face of it, suddenly Son has done amazing in game week 4, but it's an outlier, right? You know, does this mean this isn't going to happen again? It doesn't look good for Son in general. He had one good game. That's not good enough for us in general. When we talk about FPL and players we want to pick, one game week, if we see a pattern of a player not doing very much, and we have in 1, 2, 3, Son was not doing very much. When you get that pattern, one game week doesn't suddenly make a player an amazing player. Now, this is where I think Son is a bit different, because it is when he's playing as a central striker, he is so different. Those of you guys who watch Spurs, who at least kind of have a vague understanding of the way Spurs are playing right now under Ange Postecoglou, the left and right wingers are not really heavily involved in the direct goal scoring and assisting necessarily. You know, it's really kind of the central triangle of, or central triangle, or the striker and the guy behind the striker, maybe the guy off the other midfielder who's kind of maybe a bit more box to box, or a second attacking midfielder. Those seem to be the players who are getting in the most dangerous areas, doing the most, really, which is kind of Maddison. It's been Richarlison for the start of the season, although he didn't really get too much of a sniff. But those players out wide, they find themselves kind of, not necessarily being the goal scorers in the team. And that's fine, that's just a different way of setting up. And the problem is, Son doesn't fit that role. We know Son doesn't fit that role. He is not a support winger. He's not a support midfielder. So when he plays out wide, he was naturally ineffective. And that's what we saw in game week 1, 2, 3. Son playing in a position, yes, you can say Son is a left midfielder. He was playing in left midfield. Not really. He's not a left midfielder in the way Ange Postecoglou likes to play his left midfielder. So, of course, he was going to do pretty poorly. It didn't work out. One of the reasons why I wasn't really interested in Son at the start of the season. But new information. This is what FPL is all about. New information, things changing and adapting to that situation. And now, Son is not playing in the wide role. Last game against Burnley, he plays as the central striker. That was very, very, very good. Very good stuff. Now, the next question is Son going to continue playing in the central striker role? Because that's going to be the difference between whether you go for Son now and try and get ahead of the curve a little bit, try and get ahead of the people buying Son, or do you sit back and say, I don't know if he's going to continue to play there. I don't know if he's going to play there in the future or not. Well, there is reason to believe he will continue to play in the central striker role, and here is why. So, the tweet I put out originally, before this tweet, I wrote about Son. I said I think Son's going to play central striker. And a lot of people were like, well, Brennan Johnson, does he play golf? He's been brought in to Spurs. Yes, he has. But is Brennan Johnson a central striker? He wasn't good enough to play central striker for Nottingham Forest. That's what I'm going to put out there. He is a winger. He is a winger. He is a support striker. He is a winger. He's not a number 9 in the same way as Son can play. So, if you think Richarlison's not going to play, and Richarlison has been in some pretty poor form, let's be honest, does that mean Son is going to have that central striker kind of role? Not necessarily nailed down, but even if he plays there 50% of the time, 60, 70, 80% of the time, is that going to be good enough? I think it could be. I think that could be good enough. Because Johnson, he's not been brought in to be the central striker. He hasn't. I didn't think he had anyway, to be fair. But a lot of people, what it turns out to be non-Spurs fans, were saying, what about Johnson? He might come in and play number 9. Spurs fans are unanimous in the replies here, saying that Johnson is not going to be their number 9. Nottingham Forest fans agree. Not really a number 9. He's always been a support striker. He's always been a winger. He's never been an outright number 9 in the same way that Ange Postecoglou likes to play his striker. So, it's going to be a different Son. It's going to be a different Son. A Son that is able to get in the box, in and around the box, in those dangerous areas where he wasn't able to be in game week 1, 2, and 3. And we know he is an insanely clinical finisher. Overperforms his XG every single season. Is what he does, and we can look at some of Son's numbers as well if I can find it. Here we are. Need to move that over there as well. We need to have a look at Son. Yes, in game week 1, 2, 3, it wasn't looking so good, but game week 4 he changed everything. So yeah, you can kind of see here. A lot of his heat map for the first 4 game weeks was kind of out on the left, but for game week 4, totally different. Going on to his Opta stats here, in fact, let's write in his whole name. You can see that game week 1, 2, and 3, the total XG in 3 games was 0.27. His total XA was 1.17. So a little bit of, support role kind of that he was forced to play. Then, like I say, remember these stats, 0.27 XG. Now let's take it to game week 4 on its own. 1.09 XG. So 4 times as many XG generated in one game just by virtue of him playing in the central striker role. And yes, he overperformed, 3 goals with 1 XG. That's not abnormal for Son. It really is not abnormal. It's what he does. He's a world-class finisher. Say what you like about other, strikers doing bits, but Son doesn't need that many chances to score goals. He's really, really clinical. And we've seen that for years and years and years. Maybe not so much last year. Off season for him last year, to be honest. Don't really know how that happened, but yeah, last season was a strange one. It was a one-off season, I guess, but I know that kind of plays into people's minds a little bit. Is he the same guy as he was previously? Well, I mean, we saw against Burnley, he very much is the same player, just needed that opportunity to thrive, and that's what he's going to be. So, who's going to be his competition for the central striker? Richarlison, maybe. Brennan Johnson is not going to play there. He's going to play on the wing, maybe play behind the striker occasionally. Johnson might get the occasional game in number 9, just for depth, but not much more than that. It's kind of up to you. Do you trust it? Do you trust that he'll play a central striker? Because if he plays on the wing, he's not going to do the business. If he plays in the middle, yeah, we could be looking at something special here. Looking quickly at Son's fixtures, because we do have a mixed bag. We've got Sheffield United up next, and for the record, I don't think Son is going to do as well against Sheffield United as he did against Burnley. He's a kind of more of a counter-attacking type striker, isn't he? So he is going to need a lot of space in behind, and I don't know if that's going to happen against Sheffield United in the same way as it did against Burnley. It's still a good fixture, though, and if he does get chances, he will probably finish them. That's what he does. But Arsenal and Liverpool, 2 much higher lines. And even though these fixtures look bad on the face of it, actually, for someone like Son, kind of suits him. You kind of fancy him to get a goal in these games. He does well against those high lines. Liverpool play with a super high line. Arsenal are a team that Son has actually punished a lot in the past as well. And then after that, we've got the likes of Luton and Fulham, which are 2 phenomenal fixtures. So, on balance, the next 5 fixtures, it looks like mixed fixtures, but actually, I think they're pretty good. I actually genuinely think they're pretty good fixtures for him. So, yes, he's not going to get a hat-trick every week. Don't get me wrong. But I can definitely see him scoring goals in this period. Definitely see him scoring a few goals in this period. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get 3 or 4 goals over the next 5 game weeks, which I think is possibly enough for what you're paying for him. So, it's an interesting one. Is he a captaincy option? Maybe. Sheffield United, I feel like, is actually, over the next 5... the one fixture that suits him the least, and in that sense, you can maybe wait. You can afford to wait, skip Sheffield United, skip the 2 hard fixtures against Arsenal and Liverpool, and then bring him in against Luton and Fulham. I think that is fine. It's okay to do that if you wanted to, but at the same time, if Son does really well, you're going to want to get on in early. We see this all the time. People wait too long to bring in players. And I feel like if you want to get ahead in FPL, everyone is going to get the same information eventually. If Son scores again against Sheffield United, everyone's going to bring him in. If he scores again against Arsenal, the people who still haven't got him in are going to bring him in. How long do you wait? If he keeps doing well, you're going to find yourself further and further behind the curve. And with the amount of information out there at the moment in FPL, one of the few ways to actually get ahead is to go in on a player before everyone else is doing it. Because if you just wait and wait and wait, all you're going to do is pick up a player that everyone else is getting the points with for alongside yourself, so you're not going to make any gains on them. You've bought them in late, so everyone who bought them in before you has got points and got ahead of you. I am a big fan of going in early on players if you see the right signs. And we have seen a very good sign of what is to come from Son. A very, very good sign, which is, I think, different from what we saw from Sterling. Because we're seeing a player playing in a completely different position for a team we already know is super attacking and looking actually really good. Like, Spurs have looked good this season. They've looked better than Chelsea this season. I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me on that one. Spurs have looked good. let's put it out there. They look decent, and they've got some decent fixtures, and Son is their best player. He's nailed on. He's probably going to be on penalties as well. It's a good pick. It's a very good pick. It really is. So if you can afford to get him easily, then I would perhaps do it. Quickly on who to sell in order to get him. Looking through the midfielders a lot of people are selling right now, it seems to be Manchester United midfielders dominating at the moment. So Rashford and Fernandes being sold. I can't believe how many people are selling Sterling. Sterling actually didn't even do too badly against Forest. You can see 0.29 XG, 0.30 XA. For a 7.2 million midfielder, that's not too bad. Like, it could be better, don't get me wrong. We've got Bournemouth up next. I think that will be an easier fixture than the Nottingham Forest game was. I don't think you have to give up on Sterling, but I would kind of accept that you could afford to sell him if you wanted to. Similar situation with Rashford and Fernandes. You can sell them if you want to. Mitoma, Luis Diaz, these kind of players. Rodrigo. People finally giving up on Rodrigo? Jeez Louise. So 0.0 XG against Fulham, by the way, guys. Maybe he isn't the future top scorer of the Premier League after all. Man, what a transfer that was. People selling Saka, don't agree with that one. March, maybe. Salah, maybe. Like Mbumo, no way. Martinelli, you could potentially sell there. Foden, you could sell. Not massively keen on that one. It's difficult to see the kind of players that you would actually sell for Son. And I feel like that's the biggest problem that people have. I think Martinelli would be definitely a potential sell, but he plays against Everton next, and Jesus is going to be back, which is going to benefit Martinelli. Unless you have picked some kind of horror midfielder that you really don't like, there's no easy decision here. There's really no easy decision here on who to sell out of your midfielders in order to get Son. And I feel like that's a problem. But, and I know a lot of people do this, and I'm guilty of doing this myself. Don't assume, like, have this bias in your head that tells you Son is a bad pick just because you can't get him into your team. I don't know if I can get Son into my team or not. It's very possible that I can't get him into my team. And, you know, a lot of people are very guilty of, because they can't get to a player, they will be looking for all of the confirmation biases that that player is a bad pick because you can't get him in, and you want that comfort, right? You want that comfort of, oh, I can't get that player in. Like, are they, you know, do I really need them? You know, is there anyone out there telling me that they're actually a bad pick? You're not going to get that from me. I might not be able to get Son in my team. I'm going to really struggle to get him in, but I wish I could get him in. He's still a good pick. I would have him on a wild card if I could. If I'm on a wild card, I have him in every wild card team I would make. So, yeah, it's that is something that I think a lot of people are in danger of at the moment. I see a lot of people saying Son is a bad pick. No one can really tell me why, other than, you know, the only reasons I've seen people say Son is a bad pick was like, oh, he played Burnley. Yeah, he's played a lot of great teams in the past 5 years and scored a lot of goals against them as well. You know, he might not be playing a central striker anymore after this. Brennan Johnson might play there. He won't. Richarlison might have come back. Really? You know what I mean? It's kind of like, if you really, really don't want to get Son in, at least come up with a good reason. Like, I hate the idea of making excuses to not bring him in. He's a player I want. I might struggle to get him. As will a lot of you guys, but it doesn't make him a bad pick. Moving swiftly on, I want to talk about some Manchester United players. So, yeah, here I've got on screen for you guys. As always, by the way, we're using the Fantasy Football Hub tools. If you like the look of all of these tools and stuff, where we're showing all the stats and the players and everything like that, do go and check out this website. I've left a link in the description where you guys can get access to this for free. You can get the full version of Fantasy Football Hub as a free trial. If you fancy trying it out and trying all of the in-depth tools rather than just like the basic tools, you get all of the in-depth stuff, which I absolutely love. Recommend you guys try it out for free back. But yeah, I think my internet just dropped for a second there. But anyway. Yeah, so Manchester United players. Yeah, Bruno Fernandes is dominating the numbers. It's looking really, really good. Underlying numbers, anyway. But, I mean, to be fair, like, he's got a goal and he's got an assist, so that's a goal return every other game. Is that bad? It's not great for a 8.5, 8.4 million midfielder, but it's not horrendous, I guess. We did expect a lot more from him, but all of the positive signs are there. We're going to have Højlund back in the team. We're seeing Fernandes playing a little bit more advanced. And I think maybe we should have a look at how Manchester United will set up. I think there's potential for rather than bringing in Garnacho on the left and Rashford on the right, which, let's be honest, that just has not worked at all. It really, really has not worked at all. There is potential. We've seen this before. We've seen Ten Hag do this before, whereby he has put Rashford on the left and Bruno Fernandes on the right. So we could see Bruno Fernandes actually playing as a right winger. And when he's played there, he's done quite well in FPL terms. So, yeah, there's definitely... I feel like that could actually be kind of interesting. Of course, he's still on penalties, still on all those set pieces. Fernandes is not that bad of a pick. And I feel like even with Anthony potentially not being in that Manchester United team, I feel like Rashford is hopefully going to still stay on the left. And we might see either Bruno go out to the right, or we might see Pellistri play on the right as well. I just cannot see a world in which Rashford, with everything, how poorly Manchester United have started the season, can they really afford to put Rashford in a position where everyone knows by now, Rashford doesn't work on the right. It doesn't work at all. Can Manchester United really afford to do that? No, they can't. They're going to have to find another solution, because Rashford's done well since he's moved to the left. We've seen him. We saw him score against Arsenal. 2 assists in the game before that as well. Rashford is on 3 attacking returns in his last 2. And if we weren't so worried about Manchester United, and if we could maybe ignore game week 1 and 2, we would all be saying Rashford is a must-buy player right now. If this fantasy Premier League season started in game week 3, so we just had game week 3 and 4. Everyone will be saying, yeah, Rashford is a must-buy. And those are the 2 games where, again, he's changed position and is doing better in that position. So, yeah, it's definitely food for thought there. Definitely something to consider. Aside from that, Bruno Fernandes is still doing well. He's still doing well. Underlying numbers, he looks brilliant every game. But it's not being converted, is it? Mount on right wing, yeah, that could happen as well. If he's fit and available, we could see Mason Mount on the right. That's potential as well. Yeah, there's different solutions that don't involve Rashford moving out to the right. So I do still think like Rashford is on the left. And yeah, I don't know if I would love to give up on him quite yet. I mean, you could. I feel like these... I want to do a player comparison between these two. I feel like these 2 guys are players that you could sell for Son. I don't, but, do you need to sell them for Son? I think that's a question. I like this Brighton fixture. Brighton have actually been pretty weak defensively so far this season. I mean, you look at these heat maps, man. Like, Bruno Fernandes has been in and around the box. Rashford coming off that left has been really effective. That's where he's got most of his touches, despite the fact he's only been playing there for a couple of games. So you can see he's, much more involved on that left, since he's been playing on that left-hand side. Bruno Fernandes, you can see, kind of on the right, coming up on the right, could potentially mean that he could play right winger, maybe. He's looking good and advanced there as well. So he's not been as deep as a lot of people have kind of made out to be. It's difficult. I would not be keen on selling either of these players. I would feel like there is definitely regret to be had if you were to sell either of these players. They're not must-sells at all. They're really not must-sells. They're fine. You could sell them if you wanted to, but it's difficult to recommend it. I like the Brighton fixture. I love the Burnley fixture. I'd be very tempted to keep both of these players. If you're on a wild card, you perhaps only take one and you go for Son instead. But I like them, and I'm really, really leaning towards keeping these players. But I'm not going to say you have to do that. Like, there's definitely options there. So, yeah, there you go. There's the Manchester United spiel. It's a bit chaotic on the pitch, off the pitch. But Bruno Fernandes is still looking like a fabulous player on the eye test, on the stats, whatever you want to look at. He's still looking really good. And Rashford is, playing on the left wing, and he's about to play Brighton and Burnley. He's going to have that opportunity to counter-attack, play. Against Burnley, for example, Rashford could be Son, right? Son, we saw Son against Burnley. Can Rashford do the same thing against Burnley? Well, his finishing isn't as good, but, maybe that means he gets 2 goals instead of 3, which he would still definitely take. So I'm going to say that Bruno and Rashford are a kind of a light keep. You could potentially sell them, but I like them. I like them. Right, moving on. We have got some forwards that people want to sell. A lot of forwards are being sold. So this is what you see on screen right now, guys. It's the most sold players so far ahead of game week 5. And you can see it's pretty much just forwards, isn't it? So Nicholas Jackson, Isak, João Pedro, Wissa. We've got Botman in there breaking it up a little bit. People think he's going to be injured forever. Botman's going to be back very, very soon. And I hope people keep selling Botman, because the sooner he drops to 4.4, the better. Botman at 4.4 million is going to be an absolute bargain. He's going to drop pretty soon, probably by this deadline. And if that happens, I will be looking for that bargain. Botman bargain, 4.4 million. I would love it. So, yeah, if I had Botman, I would not be selling. I'd actually be looking to buy him around about now. But, yeah, aside from Botman, like I say, Jackson, Isak, João Pedro, Wissa, Watkins. Going down a little bit further, we've got some other players, but they are quite further down, like Antonio and whatever. But generally speaking, people seem to be wanting to sell forwards right now, which means that a lot of people want to find a replacement for them. Like, that's what the situation is. People want to get rid of forwards and they want to bring in someone else. So who are we going to bring in? Which forward is the player to go? If you've got a Jackson, Isak, João Pedro, Wissa, Watkins, you want to sell these guys. I've got Watkins. I'm thinking of selling him. But who am I going to buy? Who are we going to buy? Let's find out. So, we're back on the Opta Stats tool. Again, Fantasy Football Hub link in the description. And I've ordered all of the forwards in FPL by expected points. So, this just kind of gives you an idea of how good their underlying numbers have looked so far. Of course, we've got Erling Haaland at the top. Who else? Quick swig to lubricate that throat. We've got Edouard, second. Probably didn't see that one coming, but of course he has grabbed a few goals this season so far already, hasn't he? What's insane about Edouard is that not only is he playing a lot more minutes than he has done in the past, but he's taking a decent amount of shots. 19 shots, 18 in the box. Only Erling Haaland is getting anything similar to that. Nicholas Jackson is kind of down at 15 shots, 14 in the box, and so is Wissa. He's another player taking a lot of shots right now. So we're seeing a lot of shots from Edouard. He's an interesting pick, but looking at his fixtures, I'm not massively keen. So Aston Villa up next. We've got Fulham, which is okay, but then Manchester United. Nottingham Forest have proved to be a bit formidable, and Newcastle after that as well. So the fixtures aren't amazing, but like you could if you wanted to. If you wanted to go for Edouard, you're really looking for a cheap differential, I guess. The numbers are there. So that's something. But after that, we've got Nicholas Jackson, who has phenomenal underlying numbers, but is not finishing it. But like, this is where we go back to someone like Bruno Fernandes. If Fernandes is washed because he can't finish his dinner, he's not finishing the opportunities he's getting, then surely Nicholas Jackson is as well. I actually disagree on both accounts. I think Nicholas Jackson, if you're getting these amount of opportunities, that is half the battle. He's generated 3 XG already. He's not got a history of being a poor finisher. He's not got a lot of history, granted, but he's not got a history of being a poor finisher. I feel like the only worry with Jackson is that maybe if Armando Broja comes back, that maybe Broja does come in and get some game time off Jackson, just because he's not been doing so well recently. But there's a lot of positive signs for Jackson. He's getting in the right areas. You know, a lot of the what Chelsea are doing is directed at him. He just needs to start finishing his chances, and therefore, I don't think Jackson is a must-sell player. I really don't. In fact, if you're on a wild card, I would maybe have Jackson. Not definitely, but maybe. Other forwards to look at: Evan Ferguson, if he's fit, if he's available. Julian Alvarez. Watkins, I still think is okay. He obviously has not scored a goal yet, but he has got 1.75 XG, so I don't know. At least he's got some assists, I guess, but still been pretty disappointing from him. Wissa's still got to be in conversation. Awani's looking good. I'm going to go ahead and avoid all Spurs attackers. Solanke, don't really want to talk about either. Isak, not really feeling him at the moment. Just not getting the minutes, is he? And Nketiah is soon to be out the door. Carlton Morris is interesting. Darwin Nunez is interesting. And I do want to add, I'm looking for one more player, and I don't think he's probably going to be on the first page, to be honest. Oh, he is. He's here. Right, let's start narrowing this down. Maybe we'll throw in Archer there. No, actually, I'm not going to throw in Archer. I was going to say throw in Archer just to see what he's been up to. But let's narrow it down to these players. So, These guys, I don't know. Have I missed anyone? Let me know in the chat, guys. Have I missed any of these players? Any forwards that maybe we should be speaking about a little bit? But these are the guys that I'm interested in right now. Jackson, I still think there's something to be gained from him. Ferguson, if fit and if available, when his fixtures look a bit better, I should probably have a look at the fixtures here. Yeah, let's just look at the fixtures here. So, yeah, I mean, Brighton have got pretty horror fixtures. That's why they're right at the bottom here. Let's actually make sure we're sorting it by attack. Yeah, Brighton, pretty poor fixtures. We've got Man United. Bournemouth is a decent one, but then Aston Villa, you know, Liverpool, Man City. Yeah, all in all, it's not the greatest run of fixtures, but, like, there are some treats in there. We've got Bournemouth in there. We've seen Aston Villa concede the odd goal, haven't we? Liverpool are not an impossible defence, and we've got Fulham there as well. But would you buy him if he's, like, injury risk? Ferguson, would you buy him if he's injury risk ahead of this Manchester United game? Don't know. Maybe. Maybe. That's kind of up to you. But it's definitely an option, right? If he's available. And I'm hoping we'll find out, like, by deadline as well. When we get press conferences, hopefully we're going to find out. But yeah, after that, Julian Alvarez, I feel like minutes risk, but when he's playing, he seems really, really good. Really looking very, very impressive. And he's getting a lot of FPL returns as well, which is important. Ollie Watkins is one of those players which I would be, like, kind of half inclined to sell. But like, his numbers are not as good as Jackson. This is the thing. So even though he hasn't been performing, he's got more FPL points than Jackson, but his numbers are just not quite there. And we still get the idea that Watkins should be bought. He's underperforming, and he's also got some FPL points. Now Jackson is really underperforming and not getting as many FPL points. So Watkins is such a tricky one. I don't know what to do with him. If the fixtures were a little bit better, I'd be more inclined to keep him. But we've got Crystal Palace up first, which I'm not convinced is an amazing fixture. Or at least previously I wasn't. They have conceded a few chances, though. More than I expected. Chelsea, don't really know what's going on there. Brighton's a decent fixture. We've got Wolves, West Ham. There is definitely temptation to just keep Watkins, to be honest. I think Watkins and Jackson are both players like Bruno and Rashford. You could sell them, you could buy them. You probably wouldn't buy them. You could sell them if you wanted to and buy someone else, but you don't have to do it. You probably wouldn't have them in a wild card, and maybe that's the key takeaway here. I wouldn't have Watkins in a wild card, so should we be selling him? Maybe. Whistler still looks pretty impressive. After that, we've got the differential boys, and this is where things I really like this. Awoniyi, really impressive. Got a good fixture against Burnley up next, but then he plays Manchester City. It's tough. Morris got a double game week coming up. He has got 0.99 XG so far this season, but it should be noted that a lot of that did come from the penalty. In fact, I'm going to change this to non-penalty XG, just to get a better idea of how players have been performing. And then you can see Morris drops right to the bottom of this table. He has only played 3 games, though, to be fair. But he's nailed on. He's on penalties. And he's got a double game week coming on. That's at least a little bit interesting. We've got the other players who are kind of in the mix there are Jesus. Could he find himself nailed on now? 2 good performances in a row. Good fixtures for Liverpool as well. Is that an interesting differential that's worth going for? I think there's some potential there. I do think there's some potential to go a little bit differential on Darwin. 7.4 million, pretty cheap there as well. Jesus, I feel like, is the ultimate differential right now, though. Hardly anyone's on him. 2% owned, Jesus. He's only just come back from injury. He's going to be playing a lot of games now. He plays against Everton next. You know, we've seen Everton, right? We've all seen Everton. This could be a really good way to go in on the Arsenal players. You know, they've got Everton, they've got Spurs after that. And after that, who do Arsenal play? Is it Forest? Let me just look this up rather than speculating. Bournemouth. Bournemouth away. So, yeah, 3 good fixtures in a row. Then Man City, and then Chelsea, and then Sheffield United after that. So, next 3, really nice for Arsenal. So, I do think Jesus is definitely a player to go for here from Arsenal. Like, if you've got a Martinelli right now, I'd be tempted to keep him. Jesus is definitely a potential. I feel like there are points to be gained from going from Watkins to Jesus. Maybe not so much. I'd probably keep Jackson over Jesus, though. But yeah, like Watkins to some of these guys would work. To kind of Jesus, it's okay. Like so far so good. Like he's played 15 minutes of game time. He's already generated 0.66 xg. Well, was that one big chance against Manchester United that was a lot of that, but still, Jesus is going to be dangerous. And could Jesus take the odd penalty? I never know about that one. I thought Jesus was kind of the backup penalty taker after Saka. Saka's taken one though. Odegaard's taken one. Maybe if Saka isn't on the pitch, then it goes to Jesus. Probably still the second choice. Maybe. Unless it's Odegaard. Don't know. Yeah. But anyway, like, in terms of, like, forwards to buy right now, I wouldn't buy Watkins. I probably wouldn't buy Wissa ahead of the Newcastle fixture. I probably wouldn't buy Nicholas Jackson, but I would possibly keep him. And I probably wouldn't buy Ferguson until we know what his injury status is. So I'm going to leave him off for now. And that leaves me with... if it will load correctly. It leaves me with this list. These 5 guys. Alvarez, Awani, Darwin, Jesus, and Morris. I'll probably wait on Morris, to be honest, until that double game week before considering bringing him in. So let's remove him. And our knee is kind of more of a 1 week punt, but could potentially like make up for that fact. These guys. These are your boys. If you're looking for a new striker, these 4 I would go for. These look like the best ones to go for me. Now, whether you want to sell Jackson or Watkins or, you know, João Pedro, Wissa or whoever else, that's kind of up to you. Antonio and Nketiah, I think, would be much easier to sell. Gakpo, I would sell him pretty much straight up. Wilson, I'd be selling him as well. So, yeah, those are easy sells. And I would sell them for, like I say, one of these forwards. But if you're on Jackson, if you're on Watkins, and possibly Isak, I don't know, I'm on the fence about Isak, then I would definitely consider buying one of these guys. But I don't think you have to. I don't think you have to buy them. These are really interesting picks, and they're differential as well. And that's going to make a big difference to your FPL team, and I love that. I love that. Right, moving on. Want to have a look at Liverpool players very briefly because their fixtures are pretty good. Looking at the fixture ticker, we can see Liverpool are 3rd after Luton and Burnley. And the only reason Luton and Burnley are up there is because they've got double game week, haven't they? After that, it's Liverpool, Wolves, West Ham, Spurs, Brighton, Everton, Nottingham Forest. This is a really, really nice run of fixtures. I like it. But how do we get in on Liverpool players? I feel like this is something that we've kind of tussled with a lot this year. And that is, are Liverpool players worth it? Because Liverpool players seem to fit into one of 2 categories. And it's not like people, like I know Liverpool players have not got a lot of love in the FPL community. Particularly by FPL content creators. I don't think that's because we think Liverpool are bad or anything like that. We think Liverpool are a great attack. We really do. I certainly do. I think they're a phenomenal attack. But like I say, their players fit into one of 2 categories. Very expensive or very rotation risk. And looking through the kind of Liverpool players that you guys might consider buying, you can kind of see they all fit into one or 2 categories. Darwin, is he nailed on? We don't know for sure. He's only actually started 1 game. And even that game, he only plays 64 minutes. Alisson, 5.5 million. Too expensive for a defence that is not that good. Szoboszlai doesn't really fit into either category. I don't know why people are buying him, to be fair. Yeah, not really a very good FPL asset. Really not done so well on numbers this season at all, really. 0.3 XG, 0.5 XA generated all season. We kind of want that per game from our players, not per 4 games. Salah, too expensive. You know, nailed on, yes. On penalties, yeah, still a very good forward there. But too expensive for what he offers. Like, he's not really scoring the same points as he has done in previous season. And you can say, yes, the returns are consistent. He has got 2 goals and 2 assists. That's not too bad. But bonus points, he's not got a single one of them. Because even when he is, you know, getting his attacking returns, his teammates seem to be doing just as much as him. So he's no longer really... I don't know. I feel like I know I'm going to get probably slaughtered for saying this. But is Salah the star of the Liverpool team in the same way as he was previously. I just don't think he is. I don't think he is. I'm not saying he's fallen off or anything like that. I think he's just playing a more unselfish role. He's adapted his game. He's still a phenomenal player, and on the counter-attack, he's formidable. But in general, when you watch Liverpool play, you know, they've got many good players. It's not just about it's not the Salah show, and arguably it never was. You know, we had Firmino and Mane back in the day. Maybe they weren't quite the same heights as Salah, but yeah, I just don't know if Salah is still the same star of this Liverpool team. And then you try and identify who is that going to be. Is it going to be Luis Diaz? Is it going to be you know, Darwin Nunez? Is it going to be someone else? Diogo Jota? Well, in brief periods, it's going to be all of them, but they all rotate. They're all rotation risk. We don't know where they're going to play. Cody Gakpo, is he going to play, you know, in the forward positions? Is he going to play in midfield? Is Diaz nailed on for every game? Yeah, well, he's got some minutes so far, but yeah, he didn't start against Newcastle, and actually his numbers, they're okay, but they seem to be falling off a little bit as the season goes by. Like, he wasn't that involved against Aston Villa, for example. We've got Diogo Jota, not nailed on. Didn't even start the last 2 games. But, you know, when he starts, like, he looks really good. He looks really promising, doesn't he? We've got Darwin, who we spoke about already, but I can't seem to see him on screen. Oh, there he is. Yeah, when he plays, phenomenal, but only started 1 game so far this season. So Salah is the star in the sense that he's the most nailed on, but when whoever he seems to be playing with, whether that's Darwin, whether that's Diaz, whether that's Jota, whether that's you know, Szoboszlai coming in and getting involved, McAllister or Gakpo or whoever else. Oh, we did start against Newcastle. Oh yeah, she's got subbed because of the red card. Sorry, I completely forgot about that one. Yeah, that did happen. Diaz was the sacrificial lamb when Liverpool needs to bring on a new defender, didn't they? But the point kind of stands that Luis Diaz, yes, he started all games, but like the numbers here against Aston Villa, in a 3-0 victory, you would hope that his numbers would be a little bit better than that. I guess he's still an okay pick, but I'm still not fully convinced. If I had him, I'd probably be closer to selling him than buying him, even with the good fixtures that are coming up. So yeah, Liverpool are a really, really tricky one. Like Alexander-Arnold, again, very expensive for what he offers. Not a bad player, nailed on. Seems like all of the nailed on players are too expensive. And all of the other players are so risky, you never know which one's going to pop up. So which one do you go for? Different people are going to have different opinions on that one. Some people say Diaz, some people say Darwin. I don't know. Moats Metro says Salah is underrated. In FPL terms or in football terms? I don't think in football terms Salah is underrated. I think a lot of people think Salah's a very good football player. Liverpool are just such a tricky team to pick from. More tricky than Man City right now, which is really saying something. Joe Buckley says Liverpool will get a 5-6 goal win soon. Yeah, probably. Who's going to be the one scoring the goals? Is it going to be Salah? Can you afford to get Salah? You know, is it going to be Jota when he starts? Is it going to be Darwin when he starts? We don't know. Is it going to be a mix of everyone? Will the subs come on and score goals still? Possibly. It's messy. Liverpool are messy. They're such a hard team. So I feel like all of their players, no matter who you pick, there is going to be some risk to that. And with the amount of amazing midfielders right now, there's arguably just not space for them. And that's my current opinion on Liverpool. I feel like there is definitely potential to go a little bit different and go in on the Liverpool players. I don't think they're bad picks necessarily. But they're just so risky. High risk, high reward. If you fancy it, go for it. But we're mostly looking at midfield, right? To be honest, because you're not going to spend all that money on Alisson or Trent for the Liverpool defence that we're currently dealing with, are we? But you could perhaps go for Salah or Diaz or Jota. Considering the risk that you take by going for them, are they better than the likes of going for a Son or a Maddison right now, or even like Bruno Fernandes or Marcus Rashford? I feel like I would take both of those guys over the likes of Luis Diaz and Jota and whoever. Darwin, I would say, is the one interesting one because he goes into the forward slot, and there isn't as much competition for FPL picks in the forward slot. So I feel like you can more afford to go for. You can more easily justify going for Darwin. But I don't know. Is he gonna get some more game time now? I hope so. And in that sense, he could go for. Martin says, Dan, just ignoring my comments. I mean, to be honest, I'm only briefly reading the comments because I'm trying to cover the topics. But Martin, we'll give you some airtime. Dan just ignoring my comments because he wants to maintain the illusion of being the smartest here. I'm almost certainly not even in the 10% of smartest people in this chat right now. I wouldn't worry about that. I'm just an FPL enthusiast. So, yeah, no illusion there to shatter, to be honest. But anyway, Salah, Diaz, Gakpo are nailed starters. Okay, fine. But Gakpo is not nailed as a forward. Like, he could easily play as a midfielder. And if he does, he pretty much becomes a non-FPL asset. So it's not that I feel like necessarily they're going to be rotated in the sense that they'll be on the bench, but rotated in their position. So Gakpo is a non-FPL option, not because he might not start games. I mean, he won't start every game. So I wouldn't say he's nailed. But even if he does start, if he's in midfield, that's really no use to us, really, is it? Diaz, like I say, yes, he is getting game time, but he's so mixed as how effective he is in those games. And Salah is nailed, of course. So, yeah, look, Martin, no disagreement there, my friend. Yeah, Salah, yes, absolutely nailed. Gakpo is probably the second most nailed of the Liverpool attackers, but he's also playing a lot of games in midfield, which is no use to us. And Diaz, yeah, seems to be getting game time, but is he effective enough in those games? Maybe. But Martin, you said you also got Trent in there as well. You just brought in Trent into your fantasy team. So, yeah, maybe you are helping with that illusion. Anyway. It's fine. Yeah, like I say, Liverpool players, they're fine to go for, but they all carry risk. And if someone said as well that Salah's been close to matching Haaland, I firmly disagree with that one. Not look anywhere near matching Haaland in terms of FPL points. Like Salah and Haaland, I don't think they're comparable. They're only comparable that they're both premium players. Aside from that, yeah, no. Haaland is on another planet right now, which is another reason why I don't really like Salah as a pick. I'm never going to captain him. I'm really never going to captain Salah anymore. Yeah, I just don't trust him. What were we doing next? I need to show you our updated wildcard. Yes, that's where we're at. We are nearly finished the stream, guys, I promise. Yes, so this is my updated wildcard team that I have made. I don't know if I actually optimized it. I think it should be a 98% team rating. Oh, we get to have a look at some bicycles. Here we are. That looks like the bicycle to me. I can't be bothered to optimize it all through every game week, but yeah, this is the team. This is my updated wildcard team. And again, we're on the Fantasy Football Hub My Team tool if you want to check this out. Link in the description. Yeah, Leno in goal, because I've given up on clean sheets. I've essentially given up on clean sheets. Yeah, I've gone for Leno in goal because he's making an insane amount of saves and he's getting bonus points. I've got some good fixtures for Leno as well, in general. So, yeah, a player who's consistently shown that he's a save point monster. If clean sheets are going to be less seen, not seen as much, and we are seeing a lot of late goals in all of the additional time we're seeing in the Premier League, there's just less clean sheets in general. I feel like that is a trend that is set to continue. Yeah, let's go for some save points. Goalkeepers in at 4.6 million. That's not too bad from Leno. So, yeah, he's in goal there. Trippier I've put in. I don't think you have to go for Trippier necessarily. I feel like there is some risk to him, but his ceiling is very, very high. Adogi I'd have in there. Cash in there as well. Good fixtures for Aston Villa coming up. And, yeah, if you're on a wild card, I would get Cash in now rather than later. Can potentially rotate him in some of those more difficult games. Double Spurs midfield with Maddison and Son. I'd go for both of those guys. And I would still leave in Bruno Fernandes. He is, I would say, if I had to sell one of Fernandes or Rashford, I'm leaning towards selling Rashford at the moment and keeping Fernandes. Oh, but I like them. But yeah, I feel like one of them's got to survive. We've got Saka in here. Of course, he's doing really well all season. And Bumo. That is also a good pick. Yeah, we like Mbeumo. Well, I don't because I don't have him in my FPL team. But if you're building an FPL team right now from scratch using the wild card, you're gonna have Mbeumo in it. Double Man City attack. I've gone for Julian Alvarez in this team because he allows you to free up a little bit of more budget to go a little bit more expensive in midfield and maybe have that Trippier. But if you wanted to go for something a little bit different, I do also like the idea of maybe dropping down to a Fabian Schär for that attacking potential and switching out Julian Alvarez for a Gabriel Jesus. Something like that actually is pretty nice as well. Really feeling quite optimistic on Jesus going forward. He's the one player I feel like I'm most tempted to buy. But I know that is partially because he's such a differential, and I love a differential. So yes, that is not advice. That is just me saying I love differentials. So yeah, maybe something like that could work as well. In this kind of setup, you could afford pretty much any forward as well, other than... Actually, I don't think there is anyone you can't afford in terms of forwards. So, yeah, you could go for anyone. Shaq Jackson, you could go for Darwin if you fancy going for Darwin in this situation. You go for Højlund if you wanted to. If you fancy going a little bit different, go for Højlund as well. Maybe there's a little bit of cause for conversation about him. But yeah, by downgrading Trippier to Schär, you could go for anyone. You can go for any forward. It's amazing. But yeah, either of those kind of situations work. Let's leave it with the Jesus team for now. Because I think if it was me, I would probably do this personally. The other one was more of a template for everyone else. So I'd go for Trippier and Alvarez if I'm advising other people. But if it's me, I like a differential. Jesus is that. Fabian Schär, I like his high risk, high reward as well from him because of his, he kind of pops up with a lot of XG, gets a lot of opportunities to score goals, but you never really know when those goals are going to happen. But they do happen. So yeah, kind of another risky player that I kind of like the look of. It's looking good. And the team would look like this. Go into Gameweek 5. Let's just optimize it. I think that would bring in Bell apparently for that game week. But I think Botman will be back for this game. So in my head, it will look like this for Gameweek 6. And you bring Udogie to the bench. And you have Botman in there for that game. So he should be back against Sheffield United. You would think that Newcastle keep a clean sheet against Sheffield United. Newcastle actually been putting up some good defensive numbers despite some horrible, horrible fixtures. So I feel like by the time the fixtures get better, then maybe we're going to see something a little bit better from them. So double Newcastle defence there could be pretty good. And I would play cash against Chelsea for the attacking potential there as well. Going into game week 7, at this point, you could maybe play Turner instead of Leno, but I'm only going to leave him on the bench for now. I'm going to click... Am I going to click optimize? No, I'm not, because that's pretty much already what I would say. So you bring Udogie on the bench for that fixture against Liverpool again. You could play cash, but he's kind of non-essential. We've got Botman and Schär against Burnley, which is pretty nice. But if you wanted to kind of go for a slightly more aggressive approach, you could play cash there instead. We've got Bell for his double game week. Only one double game week player, though, which is maybe something that you might not be keen on. But by that point, you're probably making a few transfers. You can have transfers to burn by this point. So maybe you're going for something slightly different. Maybe you can I don't know, get in Morris if you wanted to, for example, or bring in another Burnley or Luton player if you wanted to by game week 7. That's going to be kind of up to you. But in general, this team looks good without having to need anything. Here, game week 8, we're back to business with Udogie, so bring him back in for that Luton fixture, which would be pretty nice. Cash will play against Wolves. Of course, all of the midfielders and forwards are pretty good. It's just the defence, really, that rotates. Game week 9, you put Turner in instead of Leno. So Turner and Leno actually do rotate a little bit. Turner's got that nice fixture in game week 9, which is a good opportunity to bring him in and see what he can do there. And yeah, this team actually looks pretty good for game week 9 in general, because you've got triple Spurs against Fulham, you've got a Manchester United player against Sheffield United, you've got a couple of Arsenal players in there, which maybe you could maybe game week 8 or 9. I would consider removing an Arsenal player. Like, could you remove Jesus this game week, for example? And Watkins has good fixtures from roughly then. So maybe bring in Watkins at that point if you want a wild card. I don't know, something like that. Sophie says, isn't it a little bit early to use a wild card? It's kind of up to you. I don't think there's one size fits all. If your team is looking, you're really unhappy with your team right now, you want to change things up, you want to refresh it, then yeah, go for it. But what I would say is if your team already looks kind of like this, and you can actually get to a team very similar to this with 1 or 2 transfers, I wouldn't bother. I wouldn't bother using your wild card. But yeah, you can definitely consider wild carding if your team is just looking terrible right now. Yeah, it's not the worst idea in the world. But yeah, it's team dependent as always. It's team everything in FPL is team dependent, isn't it? I'm trying to give sort of like more generalized advice that maybe you could apply to your own team. Advice, could you even call it advice? Opinion is probably the better word. But yeah, something like this I would go for a wild card. I like this. This is the kind of thing I would be going for. So if you want a wild card, something like that, or if you're just using your transfers to build a team, build towards something like this, and I think you'll be in a very good situation. Like I don't have Leno, I don't have any Newcastle defenders, I don't have cash. So defensively, my team is nothing like this. But actually, in the more attacking positions, I'm kind of similar to this. So I don't think I need to wildcard personally, because it'll be luxury defensive kind of wildcard moves, really. But I could just buy Son, I could buy Jesus, I could just keep Watkins, to be fair. And Mbumo's the one player. Son and Mbumo are really the two players I'm missing from my team. I don't know how I would do that. I would have to sacrifice Foden and Rashford in order to get those players in. Don't know if I want to do that. I don't think I'll bring in Mbumo this game week using a transfer anyway, so it might be a blessing in disguise. Because if you're in wildcarding, you're going to want to have Mbumo, but you probably don't necessarily love that Newcastle fixture. So yeah, maybe I'll just Rashford to Son works for me, or Watkins to Jesus. In fact, let's just look at my team very quickly, just to show you kind of what ideas I have. So the two moves I've been considering the most at the moment have been Watkins out and Rashford out for, well, I would only do one of these. I wouldn't do both. But Jesus would be the Arsenal guy I would go in as my attacker. So those are the two transfers I'm thinking about the most at the moment. Not massively convinced by either of them. I feel like both Watkins and Rashford could still bang. So maybe I just roll the transfer for my team personally. But yeah, those are the two. This is what my team would look like for Game Week 5. I don't think I need to make a transfer. I think if I did, it would either be... I don't know, it would arguably be to try and get ahead a little bit. I'm not sure I'm quite ready to give up on some of these players. Don't know. Metro says, what is the ideal reason to take a hit in FPL? I guess if you've got an injury. If you've got an injury, or you need to free up budget, or your team is just horror. You've just got terrible players. You just need to replace them. Those are kind of the reasons to take a hit. For example, I've had the comment on a couple of videos recently. People saying, "Oh, should I take out Rashford for a hit to get Heung-min Son?" No, I wouldn't do that. It's too luxury. You would have to be making a significant improvement to your team in order to take a hit. That's what I would say. A significant improvement. Not a player who is slightly better. A player who you would just prefer to have. That would be my opinion on it anyway. So yeah, I need a good reason to take a hit. But good reasons do often present themselves. You know, if I desperately needed to get Salah into my team for whatever reason, I'd need to take a hit to do that. So I would do it. If I needed to get Salah. If I had a few injuries in my team, if Rashford got injured in the international break, and then so did Foden, both play for England and they both get injured, I'd probably take a hit to replace both of those players. So that's a good reason to take a hit. A couple of reasons. Yeah, that's what I would say. Right, let's finish off the stream with some price changes, because we're almost at an hour. Basically at an hour already. So yeah, let's finish this bad boy off. These are the predicted price changes upcoming. Looks like Semenyo is the player closest to going up in price this week currently. But I want to find some players with some stronger trends. Okay, so the stronger trend players are Romero and Maddison. So they've got a strong upward trend, so they're likely to go up at some point during this week. So yeah, be aware of that. But you could see some of these other guys maybe go up as well. Semenyo, Digne, Sanchez, and Mbumo, Anderson, Turner, Saliba, Aurier. Yeah, lots of different players. But yeah, Romero and Maddison have the strong trend. So does Udogie. Son has an ultra strong trend, so I imagine he'll go to 9.2. Julian Alvarez also trending upwards as well. In terms of price goings downs, Nicholas Jackson, yeah, it looks like both Jackson and Pedro are going down tonight. If not tonight, maybe tomorrow. or the next day. So be aware, guys, if you own Jackson and Pedro, that both of those players might be dropping soon. So yeah, definitely something to be concerned about. Maybe depending on what price you bought these players at. And, what your budget situation is. A few other players potentially dropping there. No one massively interesting. Anyone on a really... Let's have a look at the trends. Let's see who's trending downwards the most. So Jackson is really the only player with a strong downward trend. And Son, Maddison, Alvarez, Romero, Udogie, and Cash are those players with strong trends upwards. So those are likely to go up in price. Right, there we go. That is that done. So... all in all, I think that is pretty much it. We'll do a mini quick Q&A for like 3 minutes. So if you've got like short questions only, I'm not going to answer any questions above like 6 or 7 words. So yeah, throw some questions in the chat. And we'll finish off the stream. But if you have enjoyed this stream, please do drop a like just while waiting for some questions to come in the chat. Do subscribe. If you're watching this stream as a replay, make sure you've got notifications on so you can join in live in the chats in future. And we can answer some of your questions a little bit live. Or, of course, if you want to leave a comment as well, if you're not watching this live, that's absolutely fine. I do try and respond to a lot of comments. If I've got a spare few minutes, I'll often just go on the YouTube app and just reply to as many people as I can before I get bored. And then I go play some FIFA. But going through some of these chat questions, Foden or Son, I would go for Son. Flecken for Pickford. I don't know if I don't think that's a priority transfer. Bowen to Son or Maddison? I would say Son at the moment. Son for Bruno, that is kind of optional. Lan says, how are you? I'm good. I'm good, thank you, mate. Flick says, Son is not a must. Fair enough. I probably agree with you. I don't think he's a must-have, but yeah, he's definitely a good pick. Moataz says Bell or Kabore. I'll go for Bell, slightly more nailed on at the moment. Albie says Bourbon or custard and cream. I am a Bourbon man myself. Bulldog or Kabore to sell. I would sell Bulldog and keep Kabore. Keep or sell Gavardio. I would keep Gavardio. A Rashford for Maddison. I think that is an optional transfer. I don't think it's a must-make transfer. Kabore to Udogie. I would prefer to sell a non-Luton defender because I would like to keep a Luton defender for the double game week, to be honest. So just to keep him on the bench for now. Jackson for Awani. It's a potential. Is Hoyland nailed? I think he should be. He should be from here on. If he doesn't start next game, he'll start the game after that. Would you keep Eze long term? I would be probably looking to sell Eze, to be honest. There's just too many other good options right now in the midfield slots. But I would maybe keep him for this game week and then move him to, like, I don't know, Mbumo in game week 6. Gusto to Cash. Yeah, I like it. Gusto to Luton. Wouldn't waste that transfer now, but yeah, that's something I would do in the future. Do you stream on Twitch? No, I don't currently, but when FIFA comes out, I might do some Twitch streams, or I might stream on YouTube. Haven't decided yet, but FIFA is going to be out in just over a week. So, yeah, we will be doing some FIFA streams, and we'll talk about FPL at the same time. Or, it's not even called FIFA anymore. EAFC. Jackson for Alvarez. Yeah, you could do... Salah to Son, yeah, I kind of like that move. Best FPL content creator apart from yourself. My favourite is the FPL Wire. How's the cat? He's doing pretty well. Thank you very much for asking. Estupinian to Trippier. No, I would keep. If I had Estupinian, I'd hold him for the Manchester United game and then see how he does against Bournemouth after that, and then maybe sell him. What team do you support? Arsenal, but Arsenal fans do not claim me. Chilwell or Trippier? Probably go for Trippier moving forward, but I wouldn't sell Chilwell to Trippier necessarily. João Pedro to who? We looked at some forwards earlier on in the stream. I think the big cheap guys were like Morris and there was another cheap player who I mentioned. Oh, Edouard. But if you can afford to go up to like a Jesus or a Darwin or Awani, I would probably do that. Zinchenko on your radar? Not really. Even when he is playing, his attacking threat is not enormous, really. I want a little bit more of an attacking threat from my defenders, to be honest. But he's a fine pick. He's an okay pick. Wissa to Awani? Maybe. I think Wissa is fine, kind of slightly longer term, so I don't think Wissa is a must-sell. Main routes to Trippier? It's difficult. It's difficult. You're probably going to have to downgrade someone else before you can get to Trippier. And that is just an unfortunate fact. Keep Onana? Probably, just because I don't think a goalkeeper transfer is a priority right now. Antonio to who? Yeah, again, any of those forwards I just mentioned. Turner or Edison? To start this game week, I would go for Edison, probably. Just because it's Man City defense, right? Watkins to Alvarez, yeah, it could do. Should I keep Jackson? It's up to you. I don't think it's a must sell, but I definitely understand if there's a forward that catches your eye, I would maybe move Jackson on. But I don't think Jackson is a must sell, so don't feel pressured to sell Jackson if you don't want to do it. Keep or sell Isak. I would be tempted to keep him, but also tempted to sell him. Another one of those ones I'm on the fence about. Baldock to Udogie. Yeah, I like that transfer if you can afford to do it, and if you're going to play Udogie semi-regularly. Can I start Archer week in, week out as starter in my 11? I probably wouldn't, no. Captain Salah, not too convinced. How many times did you watch Jesus' goal versus Man U? Only 3 times, to be fair, excluding the replays. I watched it on 3 separate occasions, if that's what you're asking. Live, on Match of the Day, and once again, on YouTube. Actually, I think I saw it on Twitter as well. So, yes, I watched that goal many, many times. Osler sell or a waste of transfer? Probably a waste of a transfer unless you're restructuring. But I probably wouldn't recommend a restructure in the forward position anyway, because 5 midfielders is the way to go forward. Chris says favourite Indian food? Probably the chicken korma or maybe a chicken tikka masala, because I don't like spicy food, unfortunately. Thoughts on Højlund? Could be interesting in the future. Not someone I'd be too willing to jump on too quickly. And I think we'll leave it there. Thanks so much, guys, for your questions. Really appreciate that. Don't forget to leave a like on the stream/video. It really does help out the channel. We're trying to get back into FPL content after a week of sporadic content, and the week before that I was a little bit sporadic as well because I was away during last week as well. And I was away this week, to be fair. I'm going away. I need to stay at home more. Just stay in this room and just grind out FPL videos. But yes, any support right now is massively appreciated because we're trying to get back on it, back in the algorithm and stuff like that after me kind of, I don't know, not putting in the usual workload that I like to do, to be honest, to stay relevant. Yeah, appreciate it. Do subscribe if you're new around here, like I say, and we're going to leave it there. Check out Fantasy Football Hub. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, joining in the stream. You guys are absolute legends, and I will stream again on deadline. It's going to be Saturday this week. We've got a Saturday 11 a.m. deadline, so I look forward to seeing you guys on the live stream then. But don't forget to leave comments as well. We'll be doing videos every day for the rest of the week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, followed by stream on Sunday. And if you want to check out any of the other Gameweek 5 content, then you can do as well. That will hopefully be linked in the sidebar. But aside from that, guys, thank you so much for watching once again, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.